Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dinar Update, your reliable source for calm, clear, and professional coverage of global currency movements and developments in emerging markets. I'm glad you're joining today because there is a development quietly happening inside banking systems that deserves close attention. It is significant, but it is not hype. Reports are emerging that both the Iraqi Dinar, or IQD, and the Vietnamese Dong, VND, are now appearing on official bank screens alongside other established international currencies. At first glance, this may seem minor, just a number on a screen, but in the language of finance, visibility is credibility. When a currency shows up inside mainstream banking systems, it signals preparation, acknowledgement, and operational readiness. Today, we will unpack exactly what this means, what it does not mean, and how holders, investors, and currency watchers should interpret this moment responsibly. By the end, you'll have a grounded understanding and a clear framework for observing this quietly unfolding development. Let's start with the fundamentals. When we say these currencies are now appearing on bank screens, we mean within official, regulated financial systems, not third-party apps, speculative websites, or informal exchange platforms. These are the systems that govern actual banking operations, track real-time exchange rates, and prepare for transactional activity. For years, holders of the IQD and VND faced limited access to verified real-time data. Many relied on scattered sources, unofficial platforms, or anecdotal information. Now, seeing these currencies inside the regulated banking environment is a shift. It represents transparency, legitimacy, and operational readiness. Banks do not add currencies casually. Every currency that appears on their internal screens undergoes compliance checks, operational readiness assessments, and regulatory approval. Integration comes before activity, not after. Turning to the Iraqi dinar specifically, the dinar has long been a point of global attention. Investors and holders watch Iraq's economic trajectory, oil revenue developments, banking reforms, and monetary policy discussions. Concepts like a potential revaluation, often called an RV, keep the community engaged. Seeing the dinar now displayed in official banking systems is not an announcement of a revaluation, but it is a meaningful signal. It indicates that banks now treat the dinar as a currency that must be actively monitored and ready for standard transactions, a departure from the past when it was largely isolated from mainstream banking visibility. From a systems perspective, this is preparation, not speculation. Internal readiness is the first step before any broader transactional or policy change can occur. Now, let's shift focus to the Vietnamese Dong. Unlike the dinar, the Dong has maintained relative stability for years, supported by Vietnam's export-driven economy, manufacturing growth, and integration into international trade. Historically, the Dong was underrepresented globally outside of specific trade corridors. Its appearance on official bank systems reflects deeper integration into international finance. This signals that the currency is becoming easier to value, easier to monitor, and easier to use for cross-border transactions, investment, and trade purposes. So why does this matter? Visibility inside regulated banking systems is credibility in action. Credibility builds trust, trust leads to participation, and participation supports long-term value. This does not mean instant gains or guaranteed revaluation, but it does signal that these currencies are steadily moving toward broader acceptance in global financial systems. For holders, this is an encouraging signal. For Iraqi dinar watchers, it demonstrates institutional attention and monitoring. For Vietnamese Dong observers, it indicates improved global integration and usability. In both cases, the currencies are taking steps toward legitimacy and accessibility. It's also important to address the question on everyone's mind. Does this mean a revaluation is imminent? The honest answer? Not necessarily. Revaluation depends on multiple factors, including economic stability, fiscal and monetary policy, inflation control, international agreements, and geopolitical conditions. Screen visibility is a preparatory milestone, not the finish line. It shows readiness and operational capability, but it is not a policy declaration. Let's talk about the advantages this development brings. First, visibility. Being able to monitor real-time rates inside official systems reduces reliance on outdated or speculative sources. Second, accessibility. Integration into bank systems enhances liquidity and streamlines potential future transactions. Third, legitimacy. Banks do not display currencies unless they consider them operationally relevant. Market psychology plays a role too. Markets respond not just to facts, but also to perception. When investors see these currencies on official platforms, confidence grows. Confidence encourages participation. Participation influences demand. Demand can influence value over time, even in the absence of immediate policy changes. However, caution is essential. Visibility can also drive hype, which can distort expectations. Smart investors remain patient, calm, and informed. Practical guidance for holders and watchers. Monitor official platforms. Look for patterns, not isolated events. Understand your holdings. Know exactly what you have, where it is, and your strategy for future use. Ignore extreme projections and rumors. Real market movements tend to be gradual, not explosive. Focus on the long term. Currency evolution requires time. Patience consistently outperforms impulsive reactions. Additionally, digital infrastructure is increasingly important. Many banks are now building systems around displayed currencies that enable digital transfers, online payments, and peer-to-peer functionality. This expands usability, adoption, and real-world relevance, strengthening the currency's integration over time. Risk management cannot be overlooked. Even with official recognition, currencies remain subject to political decisions, economic reforms, and global market fluctuations. Security is essential. Increased visibility attracts scammers and opportunists. Always use verified platforms, protect personal data, and avoid unverified offers. Globally, these developments do not go unnoticed. When a currency appears on official banking systems, international investors, institutions, and trading partners recognize it. This can influence trade relationships, investment flows, and cross-border financial planning. Visibility creates legitimacy. Legitimacy supports long-term relevance. Bringing it all together, the appearance of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong on bank screens represents a structural shift, not speculative noise. It signals transparency, institutional acknowledgement, and readiness for broader integration. For investors, it improves confidence, tracking, and planning. For casual holders, it increases understanding and accessibility. For global markets, it represents legitimacy and gradual inclusion in international finance. This is not the end of the story. It is a milestone, an important step forward, but one that requires patience and careful observation. Finally, for those seeking a centralized source of credible updates and diverse opinions, I recommend searching dinaropinions.com on Google. This platform consolidates dinar news, expert commentary, and investor insights in one accessible location, allowing you to stay informed without chasing fragmented or unreliable sources. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's update on Dinar Today. If you found this report helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss important updates. Share your thoughts in the comments. Are you holding the dinar or the dong? How are you approaching this development? As always, stay informed, stay patient, and stay smart. Big changes in currency markets happen quietly, and our goal is to provide clarity every step of the way. We'll continue tracking developments and sharing grounded insights on global finance, emerging markets, and currency trends.